Let's bring in our headliner, House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Congressman, thank you for your time this morning. Thanks for coming on the program. It's been a rough few days.
Morning. Good to be with you.
And the weekend was certainly dark, and that community has a long way to go with the funerals happening for the victims today to healing.
Yeah, I think, number one, the most important thing we can all do is express our unity with the people of the Tree of Life Synagogue and the people of the greater Pittsburgh community. They're going through a lot right now, and these are really tough times. What they need is our prayers. They need our support. They need people to come together and stand against bigotry and hate. And I think that's what you're seeing by and large all across this country. And that's the way it should be. I'm glad that the president is going down. I think it's an important display that he goes down there to show that we're all Americans in these kind of tragedies, and we're going to stand with each other.
This maniacal killer had exposed himself online repeatedly. Did the shooter at the baseball field, did he have a track record online as well?
Yes, he did. The FBI found a lot of vitriol online. He expressed a lot of anger and hatred towards Republicans, and you know, it's unfortunate that you see that play itself out sometimes. You know, and this isn't what most of humanity is about. And you know, for me, I saw the evil side, but I also saw so much good in people, and it was the good and the prayers and the support that got me through it. And it's going to be the same good and support and unity that is going to get the people of Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh through it.
When the First Amendment is written in the Constitution, you wonder how you make this leap. And I don't know what you would recommend after your own experience, and now what you're trying to help the people in Pittsburgh deal with today. Is there a way to stop this? Is there a way to go on and say, this is not right, what this person is saying?
I think the most important thing we can all do is stand up and say, it's not right. This isn't the way we settle our differences. And it's not just political. I mean, this was an anti-Semitic attack. This was an attack against Jewish people. It wasn't, I don't even think about philosophy or political ideology. So you see it on all sides. You're seeing attacks against people based on their political views. You're seeing attacks based on people's own religious beliefs. And it can't stand in America. And we've got to stand up when these kind of attacks happen and push back on it very, very hard. You know, this isn't the first time this has happened in our country's history, but this is a time where it's happening a lot more than it needs to and should. It should never happen. But when it happens, we should all stand together. That's why I think, you know, I talked to my colleague Keith Rothfuss in Pittsburgh, and he shared with me just how hurt the community is, but how they're coming together. And I think, again, the president going down there is the right signal to say, we're going to stand with each other in tough times.
Obviously, in your case, it was an act against political beliefs. In this case, anti-Semitic. It was against religion and what those people were practicing in that synagogue there, Congressman. But when you look at that and you look at the time that you went through and how as a country we came to unify and heal together, and we remember those moments at the baseball game with Nancy Pelosi, obviously on the other side of the political aisle from you, wearing the LSU cap, and everyone came together. And Trey Gowdy, your colleague in the House, is making the point that in the wake of tragedy, we no longer see that last longer than a half an hour. Here he is talking about it.
But when we lose that sense of unity, that there is a moral code that is not relativistic, it exists every day, then it leads to this kind of malaise that unfortunately we find ourselves. And tragedy used to be unifying, but now, Martha, it lasts for about 30 minutes.
Because in the days that have followed this, the talk has been about the rhetoric, and there's been a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah, there's really no need for finger pointing. You know, the fingers should all be pointed at the killer, and justice is going to be served against this killer. Make no doubt about it. But in the meantime, what we need is unity, and we need to face off and confront these acts of evil and hatred with unity. And that's, you know, again, I think by and large you're seeing that. You are seeing some people trying to politicize it for their own personal gain. I think that's disgraceful. There's no place for that. This is a time where we come together. There's going to be an election in a few days. There's going to be time for people to go and express their political views at the ballot box, but this isn't that time. This is a time for us to all stand together.
We're going to talk midterms in a moment here, but just one last question on this. Apparently, the man who was mailing these packages out of Florida, he had a long, sick, and twisted history as well, going back 20 years. He was a sick man also. And now this killer in Pittsburgh, he may face the death penalty. Would you support that?
I do. And ultimately, justice is going to be served. Again, however it's served, I would like to see it served swiftly, where he's going to get his day in court. But at the same time, those victims deserve their day in court as well. They want swift justice, however it's carried out. And, I support the fullest extent of the law being carried down upon this killer and anybody who tries to commit these kinds of acts of evil.
Meanwhile, the president making some news this morning ahead of midterm elections about birthright citizenship. In an interview with Axios, he left the door open and said that is something that he is considering entering. Watch, Congressman.
You can definitely do it with an act of Congress, but now they're saying I can do it just with an executive order. Now, how ridiculous. We're the only country in the world where a person comes in, has a baby, and the baby is essentially a citizen of the United States for 85 years with all of those benefits. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it has to end.
He was asked if he's discussed this with counsel, and he said yes, Congressman.
Yeah, and the president's exploring the legal options to do this through executive action. I'd like to see us, again, get back to rule of law, secure our border. The border has had many challenges. You're seeing this caravan coming in. I'm glad that the president is saying he's going to use whatever means necessary. You've got thousands of people saying we're just going to storm your country, ignoring your laws. Millions of people every year wait in line to try to come here the legal way. We let more than 1 million people into our country legally every year, by far the most generous nation in the world. Let's get back to rule of law. People that want to come here illegally need to recognize that we're going to actually enforce our laws and secure our border. I'm glad that the president's pursuing all the options that are available to him. Congress needs to continue to pursue all of our actions. We need to fund the wall. We need to get back to border security. We need to close all those loopholes that you hear Secretary Nielsen and the president talking about closing.
You wonder how this plays.
We've passed bills through the House to do that.
There's a lot of early voting already happening right now. You wonder how this plays in the midterms. What is your sense today? Can you hold, can you defend the majority in the House of Representatives?
I think we do hold the House. Clearly, there are a lot of seats that are toss-up seats. There are going to be at least a dozen seats the night of the election that are going to come down to the wire. And that's going to help to determine who's going to be in control of the majority. I think because of the strong economy, because of the things that we've done to advance an agenda that's really focused on helping hardworking taxpayers, helping families. Look, just what we did on the tax cuts alone, it's not only benefiting middle-class families, it's also helping shore up programs like Medicare and Social Security that right now have their own solvency problems by having a healthy economy. Let's keep this progress going, keep working with President Trump to get America back on the right track. And I think that's what gets us over the hump. But there are a lot of elections that are coming down to the wire literally in these last 7 days.
What races are you watching?
Well, I've been to a lot of these districts in the last few days. I just talked about my colleague Keith Rothfuss was out there, was in Minnesota with Eric Paulson, was in Chicago with Peter Roskam, was really just getting all around in Texas with Mr. Culberson and Pete Sessions. So there are a lot of tough races. We're battling, and we've got a great economy and a great record that we're running on. They want to reverse the tax cuts, by the way. When Pelosi's speaker, she would want to reverse the tax cuts, abolish ICE. When you see all of these threats to our homeland, to our national security, why would you want to get rid of the agents that are actually keeping us safe, keeping children safe from human trafficking? We've solved and really confronted the opioid crisis with real good bipartisan legislation. That's an agenda of success for hardworking families. We want to keep building on it.
Let's see what happens. Thank you, sir, for your time. Really appreciate it. Steve Scalise, thank you. You look good, too, so stay healthy.
Hey, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Love it. Heard some of that on the plaza this morning, Bill Hemmer.
I heard it, too, as well.
Right.
Nicely done.
Congressman, thank you.